I was like, well, there's not much I can do. If I'm an Orthodox Jewish woman, what am I going to do with music? And that changed. But I get this question a lot where people say, so you do music, but what do you do full time?
Because, you're not just performing, you also run your company, and it's really a company.
My producer said this is not a money-making thing. You're not going to make money back from that, and it's expensive. And I'm like, I'm going into this because I want to do it, and I want to share this with my people. Maybe it will propel me, maybe it won't. You can't live so calculated. You have to bring the joy into it.
Girls are taught to become somebody that fits into a certain box in order to get a shidduch.
Stop trying to be a cookie cutter. Realize what you have that makes you unique. I didn't always believe in myself. I cared so much what people thought about me, so much. Like, I wish that I loved myself the way that I love myself now and valued myself now this way when I was younger. I just didn't see a path. I didn't see how it made sense. I had so many obstacles on the way.
Welcome to Inspired to Lead. We'd like to thank our friends at Roth & Co., innovators in accounting and business advisory, for making this conversation possible. We're coming to you from New York City. I'm your host, Talia Mashiach. Today, I'm joined by singer and songwriter and superstar, Shaindy Plotzker. Shaindy, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you. Okay, so I just have to share with you how I think about you. So my sister-in-law loves music. Both of my girls are incredible singers.
Wow.
And I remember even just 5 years ago having a conversation with one of my daughters who was like, well, it doesn't matter that I have such a great voice, because if I'm a Orthodox woman, then I can't do anything with it anyway.
Wow.
As if there was nothing. And the truth is, at that point, she was right.
Yeah.
So I feel that you and others before you have completely changed the game in terms of what's possible in this incredible area of talent for young girls. And I'm just so excited to have this conversation with you. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Firstly, thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be here. And I was telling you earlier, I've done a bunch of podcasts, but I love that this one has a really unique angle. But that means so much to me about your daughter, because that's exactly how I feel. Growing up, I also didn't really even think to do anything with music, because ironically, I was known as a dancer. I think because for the same reason, I was like, well, there's not much I can do. If I'm an Orthodox Jewish woman, what am I going to do with music? And that changed. And it's amazing. And it's special for so many reasons, but especially for the girls to be able to dream. So that means a lot.
Amazing. All right. So here's how I want to first of all, I want you to share. Most people listening know who you are, but I want you to share what it is and what they appear that you are, and what you're really kind of doing from a business side behind the scenes, because you're not just performing, you also run your company, and it's really a company. So I want to talk a little bit about what you do, but what people see you as doing and what you're really doing, and how your days are filled and busy and you're running in 100 different directions.
So what's really funny is that I get this question a lot where people say, so you do music, but what do you do full time? And I'm like, no, it's such a full-time job, which I never dreamed would ever happen. It was never my goal. It was never my plan. I didn't grow up with this dream of becoming a singer. I didn't even think about this 7-8 years ago. It wasn't even on my radar, at all. But it's funny how people are like, well, music's it's a side fun thing. And I'm like, no, it is a full-time job. And another question I get a lot is, could you do a day in the life? What do you do every day? And I'm like, when I explain that every single day is so different, it's incredible. It's amazing. Some days are just so packed. Some days I'm doing a podcast. Some days I'm in the hospital visiting patients. Some days I'm flying off somewhere to do a concert. Some days I'm literally on meetings from morning to afternoon, just working, to approve things. And it's so not one way. I don't have a typical wake up. I have a morning routine. I create for normalcy's sake. I created a morning routine.
So share your morning routine.
Okay, my morning routine. Well, I'll say this much. I try to stick to it. When you get all excited, I'm being that person who drinks her water every day, and I have a long way to go, but I try when I wake up. Because I learned that if you start your morning well, your brain is just more focused. And that's something that I struggle with a lot, just being focused. I'm I have a lot of energy. I'm all over the place sometimes. I find that if I stay in a routine in the morning, my day is just more, but it's more focused.
Yeah.
So I try when I wake up not to look at my phone right away. I think it's something that we're so used to. Like we wake up, we look at our phone, and it's tempting because, I have siblings in Israel, and we're on a different time zone, or people that I work with that are on a different time zone. And I'm like, no, I try not to look at my phone right away. I get up, I wash Nagelwasser, I brush my teeth, and I make my bed. That's something that I started recently. Like, if you make your bed, your day is just, it's much better. I don't know, there's something about it. And then I try really, really to go outside for 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Because I learned like I'm a night owl, I pull all nighters. I'm like, and circadian rhythm is important, and waking up and seeing sunlight is such a great thing. Again, I'm saying this like I do it every day.
Ideally.
It
Like
didn't happen this
your
morning,
ideal day.
but this is ideal, and I try to stick to it. And it's more just based on how crazy was my weekend? Is this doable? Then I try to do a little I'll usually shower also. I'll try to do like a little skincare because again, I feel like it just starts your day. I'll do like these little eye patches that I think are solving my life. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, wow, now I have no bags.
No bags.
Exactly.
I know, I'm trying. I'm like, I'm figuring that out.
I think it's like, it's just to make me feel like I'm doing something. Then I like to try and drink water before my coffee, which is a big struggle because I love to just go straight for my coffee, drink water, hydrate, and then I'll sit on the couch and just try, then I'll daven brachos and try to just take a little bit of time to just settle in. Like I'll either like I have like a notebook and I'll write out like what do I want to get done today or just like that. Then I do my coffee and then I touch base with my team. I try to do this at my morning starts instead of like waking up frantically, picking up my phone and just getting on a call right away or, because I don't work a typical 9 to 5 and I used to. So I see the difference tremendously. I feel like if you create a structure for sure in the morning, it really helps your day to be focused. So.
Well, thank you for sharing. That's like great advice, especially for people that are probably not, in a corporate structure and that they have to be at a certain place at a certain time and they actually have to create their day for themselves, which is amazing. So this past year, what were the shows and what was the biggest audience that you've done?
Okay. So to start off, what I love about my job is that I really do all kinds of events. I'll do a private event for someone's, 50th birthday party or something like that, or about myself, like with 20 people in someone's house. And I'll also do a concert, with $1 million production and 30 musicians and thousands of people. And to me, every event that I do, big, small, intimate or not, they all have something beautiful about them that the other things don't. And I love that about my job. It's not like one typical set thing. I'll do events for organizations and I get to see what they do and connect with the people. I'll do, events with camps or high school girls. I'll do events with communities around the world, and get to connect with them and bring, it's so incredible how each thing fills a different bucket almost. It's really, really special and very meaningful to me. The biggest show we did this year, this is actually a really crazy story. We try to do one big public concert per year per location. So, and I'm really strict on that from a business model. I'll explain to you why I believe so strongly in it. I think that there's something very important to say about the scarcity mindset. And I feel like when you're constantly giving something, so if I was doing 3 shows a year in New York, show 1, awesome. Show 2, I just saw her 3-4 months ago. And I understand that because I feel the same way when I see, something happening very well, I'll just catch the next one. When you know that this is the one time per year and that's it.
It's like the drop.
It's
right?
a boom.
Like you right? That's like a big marketing tactic. This is like your one chance to be able to do it.
Exactly. And also I feel, and I like to do this, I'd rather do it once and do it properly and big and well, putting my all in than doing one and then another and another, and each one gets 60% of me. Or I just love the idea of I'm gonna do it properly and I'm gonna do it I feel like that's, and by the way, we take sometimes up to a full year to prepare for some of the biggest shows. Like the minute our New York show is over, we're preparing for the next year.
So when you prepare for your big shows, right? I know in the secular world, it's kind of like you create a show and you go on tour, right? Because you're doing, and people who are not in the industry don't appreciate how much time and work it is to prepare for the show. It's not like you get up and just sing. It's a lot of work. Is it like a tour? Is it that you're going to New York and then you go to Israel? Are there other places besides New York and Israel that you're doing these big shows?
Totally. So sometimes we like to split it up. So I'll do, LA, last year I did LA in December. I did Israel in January. I did New York in March and kind of split up I'm not against the idea of touring, but I feel like it can get exhausting. And in a way, I like to, like, the same thing. I like to give each place my all and not do 3 shows in a week, because then that's my personal opinion. Am I against it? No. I don't know when this is going to come out, how much news is going to be out by now. Are we planning multiple concerts now within 2 months? 100%.
Yeah.
And sometimes it makes sense. If we're going to Israel, very often we'll do somewhere in Europe that at the same week. Not always, but sometimes we'll do that. Or let's say if we're going to London, it makes sense to go to Switzerland and Belgium at the same week. It really depends. Yeah. The concept of touring is not really done as much in our world. I don't know if it's just based on like the structure of how our concerts work. Like, I do bring some of my musicians abroad with me, but I also have musicians all around the world. So I think that's a big part of it. Like, are you just bringing your musicians with and just doing show?
But is it the same show routine? Like like the dances,
not
every
at all.
show is
every
a
show
unique
is different. Show. I try to create each show and each experience very catered to the crowd. I'm really, really into that. It's funny, sometimes when people will say to me like, oh, like, when we're doing an event, like, oh, and people will say song suggestions. I'm talking more like private events, smaller events, and they'll say, oh, like, well, what do you want to sing? And I say, no, I could sing whatever I want in my house, in my car. This is about you. What are the songs that you love? And if they'll say a song that I don't know, I'll try and go learn it, because this is about their experience. When I perform for a more Hasidish crowd, I'll do songs that are more Hasidish. When I perform for a more Israeli crowd, do songs that are more Israeli. Yeah. It's also interesting to note how certain communities are in a bit of like a few years behind. So like a song that is not alive in New York anymore may still be alive in an out-of-town community. And it's very cool how that works. So we do a lot of, I want to say, like, delving into what's the best show we can pull for these people.
Well, you're catering to your customer. Like, right. I mean, when we pull it back into the business, you're catering to your customer. It's not about what you want to sell them. It's what they want to buy.
Exactly.
So I think that's super smart and is a big part of helping people in any industry get successful.
Yeah.
And so now, so we understand kind of what people see, but you're really running a whole business behind the scenes and that most people don't appreciate. And we're going to get into kind of how you got to this business and what the opportunities are for other people who want to come into the show business. But tell us a little bit about, you're the CEO of your production company.
That's wild.
So tell us, just because I think a lot of people don't have an appreciation for what does it mean to have a production business.
What does it mean to have, the funniest thing is that because I fell into it, I didn't walk in with a plan. I didn't go to college for 4 years and say, okay, and this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to do it, and learn the ropes. I learned through mistakes. I learned through experiences. I learned on the job, literally, because I wasn't planning to do this. I never, just to backtrack a little bit, I never grew up saying, hey, I'm going to be a singer when I grow up. I actually really didn't have a plan. It took a lot of learning how to do it. It took a lot of guesses. It took a lot of mistakes that I say, like, someone once said to us, like, oh, your contracts are so long. And I think my secretary said to her, like, point to something on the contract and we'll tell you the story behind it. Yeah. Like, well, we put that in because that once happened to us and we realized, well, that's something we have to put in a contract to make sure it doesn't happen again. So that's a very big thing in terms of how I run my business. So I'm obviously the face of my business, which is a big part of it. And there's just so much that goes on day to day. I have, Baruch Hashem, a full team under me.
So tell us about your team. What are their roles? What do they do?
So I have like a bunch of different people. I have my producer, who's incredible. He's Eli Gerster from EG Productions. He's so amazing. And really, from the beginning when I started, really guided me so much. And at this point is really overseeing the big concerts and the big things, but really has such a fantastic understanding of how to do things properly. And I'm beyond grateful. And then I have my manager, Esty, and we call her fairy godmother. She's literally fairy godmother. She is making sure that things are getting done. She's also my religious, approval. So I'll say to her, like, oh, is this okay? And she'll say, like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. Or she'll, say, like, I think you can't wear that. I think she's someone that I run things by religiously for sure, like to be respectful to my audience. But she really just overall, makes sure that things are happening and being taken care of, which is really great. And she'll also, at some points, get involved for the bigger shows on different details that my secretaries won't. Then I have my secretary, Devora, who's fantastic. And literally her brain runs in a way that mine is it's like yin yang. Yeah. She's organized, she's on it, and I'm just all over the place. And I would never be able to do what she does. She's doing inquiries and bookings and contracts and invoices. Then I have Adina and Esty, just also more just hands-on for different things. When it comes to bigger seasons, like concert season, I have seasonal staff. So I'll hire, other people people, or let's say in the summer. So I hired my sister Ellie, which was also such a like beautiful thing. We got to spend the summer together to come with me to my gigs in the summer and just assist. And she got some footage, and that was fun. But let's say when it comes to concert season, I'll hire additional staff to help out with the choir or other things. Then I have my choir, which is an entire separate part of my business, where I work with young girls and teenagers and give them, voice lessons in a group setting, and then they get to perform with me or be in music videos with me, which is
beautiful.
One of my favorite things,
Yeah.
and we'll get into that also. So I have my choir staff. They're amazing, the most amazing girls, and they just make help me and with carpool and make the girls feel amazing, just help me with the little logistics. And then I have people that, I have my graphic artist that I work with, my video editor, and just different people. Yeah.
And you're running. You are.
Isn't that funny?
Right? You're hiring, you're managing, you're holding them accountable.
It's wild.
And you're running this as a parnasa. Like this is your living. This is your career.
It really is. It really is. And it's amazing how it turned into that. But yeah, I think one of the most interesting things when it comes to like having a team is that I'll say it, I'm a perfectionist. I think a lot of people that are in the business world we like things to be done a certain way. We want to, we have visions, and it's very often how we got where we got to.
Yeah.
And I had a very hard time delegating at first. This is going to sound really funny, but I want to say like 3-4 years ago, when I was at the start, I didn't let an email go out without me approving it. That's not realistic, by the way, because at this point, so many emails are going out per day. But I was like, okay, send it to me. And then I would like, oh no, so word it that way. And I just learned over time, okay, maybe the wording of the email is not exactly what I would have said, but done is better than perfect.
Yes.
And like, we got to get it done. And I also just learned to let go. It took a lot.
That was probably
for
hard
me.
for you.
It took so much for me. And it still does take a lot for me. Like I still do have times when I'm just like, okay, and I'm like, if you want to nitpick on everything, it's not going to get done.
I saw a video I was watching before we sat down, and you were getting ready. It was a video on that you were getting ready for the concert, and you said, look, I'm doing 13 songs. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not coming out there to be perfect. You were kind of setting it up, but I'm out there. My goal is to have impact and to inspire and not to be perfect. So I'm sure that's a message that you really had to work on and teach yourself.
Well, yes and no, because in the like grammatical situation, like let's say I'm such a grammar person. Like if like I was like, oh, it's missing a comma, which doesn't happen, by the way. Like it's run beautifully, but like, oh, I would have worded it differently. Or in that area, it's much harder for me. But when it comes to what I do, which is like the performing, ironically, it's not hard for me. And this is like a big gift. I really believe that Hashem gives everybody the tools that they need to do what they need to do in this world. And, when we got sent down to this world, Hashem's like, okay, I want you to do X, Y, and Z, but I'm going to give you certain tools that are really going to make it work for you. And I got to see that so firsthand, for example, in the fact that I, Baruch Hashem, do not have stage fright, which is just so strange. I actually
It'd be really hard for you to do this job if you had stage fright.
If I had stage fright, and every time I got on stage was difficult for me and had anxiety, I don't think I'd still be doing it. Personally. So in that area, I'm very, very lucky. And part of where that lack of stage fright comes from, I believe, is a lack of perfectionism. But I think it's what's your goal? So when you realign what your goal is and what you're trying to accomplish, then it helps you to knock the other things out of the way. So when it comes to, let's say, an email, our goal is to have proper communication.
And you're also representing your brand in a certain
represent
way.
our brand. So for that, I would be, more like, oh, I really want that to be done well. On stage, I think that people assume that my goal is to sound beautiful, and it's
to entertain.
It's to entertain more than to sound beautiful. I think there are so many different singers, and I'm so blessed to be in an industry with such talented singers and people who have really just keep paving the way, and they're so incredible. And I love that we each bring something different to the table. And for me personally, it's not that I'll sound off key. It's just that I don't feel like my goal is when I get on stage, oh, let me make sure I deliver this perfectly and my notes are perfect and I sound flawless. That's not my goal. My goal is what am I here for? I'm here to uplift people in the audience, to give them a good time. My trademark is more just good energy and getting the crowd singing and dancing up on their feet, because I believe that that's my personality, but also I believe that everyone wants to have a good time. Everyone, no matter how young, no matter how old, no matter what background they're from, everybody wants to be in a room with thousands of Jewish women singing and dancing. It's the most magical experience. I don't know that they want to be sitting the whole time and just watching me perform. I think that they want to be involved in the experience, and that's what I like to do, and that's what my events are really focused on, is how are we giving the audience the best experience? How are we involving them? Are they up on their feet? So to me, if I had two shows, one where my vocals weren't so great, but the crowd was roaring the entire time, and a second show where my vocals were flawless, but the crowd wasn't engaged, I would view the first show as a success more than the second
because you were successful in entertaining them, right? Like that's at the end of the day, that's what they're buying. They're
goal.
paying it for a ticket to come and have a good time. And I think it's interesting because, again, looking at this as a business, which I know a lot of times people don't think they can take their passions and make it a business. And I think this is part of what is so inspirational is there's a passion and then you can make it a business, but it's remembering what it is. As soon as you move from something that you enjoy to do to something you're charging people for, then it's remembering that it's what is it that you're expected to deliver. 100%. And you're expected to deliver a really good time.
Right.
So I want to segment now into just tell us how you grew up. Like tell us, because to kind of get to the stage in your life, and did you always love to sing and dance? Did you have like, wow, one day I'm going to be a singer, I'm going to break this glass ceiling, and and along with a lot of really incredible women, a little bit older than you that started to pave that way.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I grew up in England. Actually, I grew up in England.
No accent.
No accent anymore.
Oh,
I had a
really?
really strong, actually was just in England literally yesterday.
Your accent came back.
And the tune came back a little bit while I was there. Like the tune, we talk a little bit like this.
Yeah.
Just because I was around English people.
Yeah.
That's actually how I grew up. I grew up in England, down the block from my grandparents, super family-oriented family. My grandparents, like I said, were down the block from us, and we just spent so much time together with my extended family, my aunts and my cousins and my uncles. They're just like my whole world.
Yeah.
Like my cousins
beautiful.
are my best friends, and
That's
it's
so
been a
beautiful.
really beautiful way to grow up. My cousins lived in the house next door to us at one point. Very family-oriented, very musical also. It's funny, I was just with my cousins this past weekend in London. We had my cousin's bar mitzvah, and I said to my uncles, my three uncles, I said, can you guys sing Mod Ani and Odie Shvu? Because when I grew up, every time we got together, you sang that with the most stunning harmonies, and that was a big part of my childhood, to the point where I thought that my uncle wrote the song. Like I walked around saying like, oh yeah, my uncle wrote Odie Shvu, and someone's like, no, he didn't. And I'm like, you know it? And then I was younger, and then I realized that obviously he didn't. So my family just being together and just
you associated sort of music with this heart and love and togetherness.
Totally.
And,
Exactly. And really seeing what music can do and how it can bring us together. And what's funny is because I grew up in a very musical family, I don't know that I was really aware that what I had was unique. I remember like much later on in life when I was in high school, I still didn't even realize that we were doing a choir for school, and I was like, okay, like they're like, can you make up the harmonies? And I'm like, sure. And it only dawned on me, I'm like, is it not like a typical,
right?
I really started to realize like, okay, but I love that because I grew up in a very musical family, and this was the norm, that it didn't get to my head.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most important things to me in my life, in my business, is that no matter how much we accomplish, no matter what we get to do, no matter what we were gifted with, we really have to remember, and I speak for myself, I say, I have to always remember that everything is from Hashem. And I'm just so, so lucky to have it. It's not mine, and it's just, it's a gift, and I'm so grateful for every day that I have it. I actually have a song on this that's coming out soon. By the time this podcast comes out, it might be out already. It's just about being grateful for what I have, and one of the lyrics is, and if you believe it, thank you, God, for all I had today, and if you believe it's what is best, can I have it back tomorrow and the next?
Oh, that's beautiful.
And
did you write the lyrics?
I wrote it,
Okay,
yeah.
wow.
And then it's like basically saying, like, I promise that I'll really try to do my best to just do what I can for the world and to do good with it, because that's what you gave it to me for. I also grew up with parents who are the most amazing people and have supported me from day one.
Yeah.
And I would be absolutely nowhere without them. And they also just really raised me with this concept of understanding everything is from Hashem, and how to just always understand that, turn upwards, and never like make it about yourself, and just to realize that he gave it to you for a reason, and you have to do what you can for the world with it, but it's not about you. Ironically, this is a funny thing, I don't like attention at all. Like, I think people assume like, oh yeah, you're on stage. When I'm on stage, it's more like, well, I'm thinking about it. The minute it becomes about me, I actually get uncomfortable, which is really, I'm grateful for that.
By the way, I could appreciate that, because I am the same way. People don't think that about me either, because I'm a host of a podcast, and I do panels, and I do all kinds of things. This is not my comfort zone. Like, I really much prefer to be behind the scenes, and my motivator is just okay, what's the impact I'm going to have?
Yeah.
And if I can have an impact on others, then that's what pushes me to do it. But it's not like it's energy. Like I'm exhausted at the end.
So energetically, no, I'm fine. I'm such an extrovert.
Well, you've got so much energy. Like I'm feeling it over here. Like I'm like, whoa.
I'm an extrovert. It's just more that
the attention on you that people are talking about you.
The minute they're like, Shaindy, I'm like, don't say that.
Yeah.
Again, but I'm grateful because I understand what that is doing.
Right.
So
it's purpose driven.
Yeah, exactly. So backtracking is
Can I just ask you a question?
Go for it.
When did you move to the United States, and where did you move to?
Moved to Brooklyn when I was 7, in the middle of the year. We moved because my oldest brother has special needs. And at the time, there was just so little in England and so much in America that was opening up. And kudos to my parents for like making that move and saying like, this is the best way for our child to have the best shot at life. We're gonna sell our house that we just built. We put so much, like my mother had like decorated it and got it all invested, and then she was like, no, this is not the best place for my child to be. I'm gonna move. I'm gonna leave my family. I'm gonna go to America, and we moved to Brooklyn. We lived there for about 4 years. Love Brooklyn. Love to all the Brooklyners. It was too noisy for us.
Yeah.
We're such nature people.
Yeah, I was you came from,
We needed deer. We needed to hear the crickets at night. So we moved to Muncie, I want to say probably like 15 plus years ago. I'm not good with math, whatever, but something like that. We've been in Muncie ever since. I love Muncie. I love so many things about it. Not just the nature part, but the people in Muncie are just so, I mean, not that the people in Brooklyn are not, obviously,
right.
But I'm just saying,
it's just
this
different.
is the community
They're suburbs
I really,
and their city.
Yeah, this is the community I really grew up in. And I love that the Muncie people are just so warm and loving, and I love it. So I moved to Muncie, and that's where I grew up.
And in America, you had to start over again. You had to start over with new friends.
I switched schools so many times.
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
That must have been really challenging. Were you the one in the Erev Shiraz and the productions?
Totally
like,
not.
You,
I mean, I don't want to say totally not. You know, I think back sometimes and I said like, oh yeah, I was known as a dancer.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I was always in the.
Do you get lead parts?
So that's also a funny thing. I 1 year I was like, let me do drama. And I was almost got the main part in the play, and then I did it. But I was always a dancer. I love dance. Almost, I want to say equally to how much I love music. It's such an expression. I just love it so much. And I was always dance head. I was always in dance, and I loved it. I think also I just felt that there was maybe more there expressively for me than choir. I don't know why, but it's funny because I say like, well, I wasn't really known for my voice, but then I look back and I'm like, well, I was in choirs at times, but no, I didn't take voice lessons as a kid. I don't know.
What did you think you were going to do when you grew up?
That's such a good question. I didn't really know. I knew one thing, and this has really stayed at like the core of what I try to do and how I try to do it. I just remember saying, I just want to make a difference. I want to make an impact. I want to uplift people. I want to inspire them. I want to be able to give to people what they didn't have, whether it's, whatever it is. That's the only thing I knew. Right when I was like coming home from seminary in Israel, I was looking at music therapy. I was looking at becoming a child life specialist in a hospital. I love kids. I was looking there. I had no clue. And by the way, I say this because I think it's important for women and girls to understand you don't have to have it all figured out right away. Yeah. I was 19. I was home from Israel, and I had no plan of what I wanted to do. And you hadn't
been in like a big show where everyone's like, oh my gosh, you're going to be a big singer when you're older. So you weren't even thinking like
it didn't seem like a career path to me. It didn't seem doable.
Right.
I mean, again, was I in choirs? And I was.
But it wasn't like I'm going to make a career out of this. It wasn't because also there weren't necessarily role models so much at that time that said that a woman could create
do it on
a
this
career
level.
at this level, right?
Definitely
and
women that were doing music way before me, way before me. It wasn't, I think, being done on the same level to which it's being done today with concerts with thousands of people and
real production and
and I'm not putting it down at all.
Right,
don't let that throw across the wrong way. They did amazing.
But it wasn't right. But this is where I really think the changes, as I said, is that when you were 19, it wasn't thinking about that I could do this as a career
for a million,
and which is why this podcast is so important. Part of what we want to accomplish through interviewing everybody is that we want women, girls, everyone to open their eyes to so many more possibilities of things that they're passionate about that they can go and create a career out of, and not just think I have to be a nurse or a PA or a therapist, but that there's so much else out there, and those role models and seeing women before them who are doing it. So that is like a big part of what we're trying to do. So, that is a big part for you. So let's go back. So you're 19, you're saying that you didn't think like this was possible. You're looking at all these, and then what happened?
So I was a teacher for 7 years, actually, which also total fluke. I was enrolled in college when I came home. The college also sets credibility like a month before the year was starting, a week before, I don't know. I took a job last minute just to fill my time as an assistant in a school. Fell in love with teaching and kids, and I still to this day, that's something that I still love. And it was a very special time in my life, and that was it. I was like, okay. I just kind of was like, okay, I'm just gonna I didn't really think forward. Like, what do I want to do in 10? I wasn't thinking that. I was just living kind of in the moment at the time. I did have a lot of people, and I speak about this often, but like especially Shimmy Adar, who's a close friend of mine, pushing me like, you got to do something with your music. I just didn't see a path. I didn't see how it made sense. I had so many obstacles on the way. Number one, like you said, it wasn't really done in this capacity, this level before, so I didn't have a path to follow as much. I also don't like attention, and I was like, well, and I kind of thought singers were probably self-centered people. I was like, oh yeah, it's all about you, and I don't want to be that, which is so not true, by the way. I've met so many incredible singers who are the most humble, selfless people in the entire world. They're my role models of who I aim to be, and they have just so well focused. I also assumed halachically that it was just a no. Like, Kol Isha and the ability for women to sing. I assumed that there was no path forward for that. So there was that. There was also the fact that, like, in the same thing that I don't like attention, I get shy sometimes, which is so unexpected. But it's in the same category. I'm just like, oh, no, I am good, And I was like, oh, it's so not my type. There were just so many blockages. And the one that was really interesting, though, that was not a blockage for me was, I'm not married yet, so like I shouldn't do this till I'm like married and settled. And that's something that I also I love to give over to people is like, we sometimes say like, I'll do it when. I'll do it when. If you're gonna always wait for something to happen, it might never happen. That's number one. Like, you really have to just act when you have the inspiration, like, get it, just go for it. Don't wait, because there's always going to be something else. There's always going to be another reason. And also I said, listen, I know some people are like, oh, I don't know. This is who I am, what I believe in. And the person that's going to marry me is a person that believes in what I do. And that's the person I want to marry. So I don't believe it's an obstacle. In fact, it filters out for me. Yeah. Because the person that's going to say, oh, I don't, really believe in that or whatever, that's totally understandable. And I don't judge that at all. But that means that we're not compatible in that way. So for me, it was only the best thing. But
can I hone in on that for a second? Because I think you said something that's really, really important. Is sometimes, I think especially in certain circles, girls are taught to become somebody that fits into a certain box in order to get a shidduch or to wind up getting married. And then they are told this is what you need to become in order to be able to get somebody and to start a family. And they are suppressed with sometimes who they are and what they want to be and what makes them special. You just said the opposite, which is so incredible, which is what I think is such an important message, is that no, you need to be you. You need to become who you want to be. You need to take the passion, take the interest, and go and do who you are. And the person that you want to marry you will be somebody who respects all those things about you. And if they don't, then that's not someone you want to be married to. And maybe that path of, okay, if I conform to this box, then, when I start shidduchim and I'm 20 and I'll get, married quickly because I'm in this box. But how happy and how fulfilling is that marriage and that life? This is like the rest of your life. How is that going to be for you if you didn't come to that relationship with your true self? So I love that and that takes courage.
It does.
And I think maybe we're getting better at those messages to our younger girls, but it's still so many people around it saying, but how could you do that? You're not going to get a shidduch. You're not going to, this is different. What are people going to say? What are the neighbors going to say? And such a focus, which is not a Torah value. A Torah value is not like what somebody looks like or what they do and such judgment. A Torah value is actually like looking at the kochos that Hashem gives somebody and encouraging them and how they could give that back to the world.
100%. And I think that it also could play out in so many different ways. Firstly, you use the word suppressed. And I think that that's the best way to say it, because if you have something inside of you and you're suppressing it your whole life, I believe eventually it's going to come out in some capacity, whether it's
And it might not be a positive way.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, obviously everything has to be thought about, and I'm not telling everyone just do whatever you want.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. I don't believe in that at all. I'm
Right.
very respectful and calculated and make sure that everything is
Very intentional.
Intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important. But I think that it goes further because people, not just in business, but people have this fear of the way that the world perceives them because of things that shouldn't play out. And I'm very lucky that I think maybe this is where it comes from. In my family, we were taught, let's just even talk about friends, right? So I have, my oldest brother has special needs, and someone that's going to say, oh, well, maybe you're not going to get married because your brother, well, no. I would never, my life wouldn't be altered. Hashem wouldn't make my life be altered to the negative because of something that I have in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I think that's an important thing for people to know. Like, people say, oh, let's say my family's really colorful and like my siblings are different than me, and like, who's going to accept me? Someone who
The kind of person
the kind
you
of
want to
person
be
that
with.
you want
Right.
to accept you is the kind of person that you need, and someone who wouldn't accept your family maybe is not for you. So in my opinion, the greatest thing we have is being our true selves, being proud, being proud of our true selves, and like also obviously in the business aspect, going for it and understanding that this is what makes sense, and it'll only help me find the right person
Right.
in a better way, and someone who's perfect for me. And I think that's important.
Really important. And look, some people are really fortunate and they grew up in homes, and I talk about this quite a bit. And I'm one of those whose parents were amazing, and every day told me you could be anything you want to be, like loved everything about who I was, encouraged me with all of those strengths, and my siblings, like all of us, and we're all very different. And those were the messages always, and was like, this is like, be who you are. And I never, and I grew up like in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, until I went to Chicago, and then I went to school. And there, like, there's no pressure. Everyone could just be their own person, which was, I think, a big part of it. And there was never, ever like a thought in my head, which I know is like to be something for someone else, like, or to care, honestly, what other people think.
That's so healthy.
Right. But I think that's not so now, and that was like a while ago. And I realized, so when you grow up and maybe you didn't have your parents to tell you that, and maybe you grew up in a bigger like place like the tri-state area where there's like tremendous amount of pressure. I feel like the bigger the community, the more pressure there is to be something and to be what everyone else wants you to be. But I still believe that you could still change. Like you even at, if you're 19, you're 20, you're 30, whatever you are,
when you're 95.
you can decide that it's not going to matter not going to view myself based on how other people view me. I'm going to view myself for like who I truly am and appreciate that about me. And surround yourself with people who support you and who communicate that message to you over and over again. So even if you didn't have it growing up, you could shift that when you get older and pick friends that make you feel good.
Oh my gosh,
for
so
sure
important.
A spouse that makes you feel good. If you when you feel good and you don't feel good, and stop caring what everybody else thinks.
You know what's funny? When I went through like a pivotal switch in my life, I want to say it was like a good few years ago, where I did this in the fashion aspect, which is so funny. Like, we're so conditioned to dress for other people's approval, right?
Yeah.
That's how we grow up. And like, oh, like, am I going
Is
to
it
look
a
good in everyone
style?
else's eyes?
Yeah.
And I got to a point where I'm like, like my own style. I have this, and I'm like, and when I switched over to like, I want to dress for the fashion that that's very me, and not so much what other people would wear. I have friends that I learned from that are like this. And, I see how they're so not scared to wear something that maybe is a little bit, to some people, mismatched, but to them it's like, wow, this is really cool. I like how this goes together, and it doesn't match. I'm just giving an example, but I learned so much to lean into dress more for, ways that I'm like, well, obviously, keeping within the guidelines of halakha. I'm not talking about testing modesty standards. I'm talking about just from a stylistic and personality aspect. And it was such a freeing thing for me.
Yeah.
To start dressing, in a way that I'm like, oh, that's so my type.
Yeah, and not worrying
And
about, it's not in
looking
style.
like a cookie cutter,
Yeah.
like everyone else. Because I think
you walk into certain communities, I won't say them and it's literally, as you sit in a restaurant and you just watch, and every single young girl looks exactly the same.
And I'm not here to judge at all. Like, it makes sense when you're conditioned to grow up a certain way.
But that's where we want the messages. Like, that if that's what you want, that's okay.
Like, walk
but
into
don't
the store and
do
say,
it because of that.
That's so my type. Not, that will get me popularity.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's really important.
And popularity actually really comes from people respecting you, right? It comes from two. It's like you think you're popular for the girls that people fear you, but really that's not. They don't really like you. You might be popular, but you're very lonely inside. The much better place is you have people who like you because they respect you, because they look up to you. And normally that's because they see a confidence in you to be yourself and to go after everything that's in life.
Exactly.
And of course they respect how you carry yourself and your mitos, but they aspire to be like you, or to have not necessarily exactly like you, but to have the confidence like you to be that. And I think that is leadership.
Yes.
I want to talk about that. And
can I tap on that for 1 second?
Go ahead.
As you were saying this, and I'm like, what the real thing is when you are your authentic self, when you are confident to be yourself, people gravitate to that so much. And I think that ironically, it's like a circle. It's literally a cycle of like, the more confident you are, the more people feel connected to you, the more people feel, it really does feed each other. But you have to take the first step and say like, let me work on being more confident in myself, believing in myself more, loving myself
and
more.
authentic.
And being authentic.
I think people
and
connect to authenticity.
Yes. And it's funny because when you go back, I want to say 6 years when I was just starting this, and I had a really interesting dilemma. I don't think I've ever shared this before, actually. I'm in an industry where everyone is older than me. They're taller than me. They're more, mature than me in my mind. And when I first started, if you go back to my first 6 months of Instagram stories, I want to say, I was so poised and mature. My stories were like if I made a mistake, I would start again. And that's because I thought, well, in order to be respectable and to be mature, and I have to, be that. I have to be all perfect and mature. Which again, I'm not saying be mature, but I had to.
There was a box. You thought you had to fit into a box.
That I had to fit into. And it was a couple months in when one day, like, I think I accidentally maybe uploaded an Instagram story where like I made a mistake and I was like just like being a little goofy, and I never got so many replies in my life. I'm like, what's going on? And then I got into a conversation with Elisheva Perlman from the Annellis Group. Do you know Elisheva? She's amazing. She's fantastic, and she's very big with marketing. And I said to her, like, I don't know what to do because I want to. I also I have two very interesting parts. I am super energetic and fun and bubbly, but I'm also really soulful. Like most of my songs that I write are like slow.
Yeah.
Every time that I write a song, by the way, and I'll tell my team, I'll say, okay, guys, I wrote a song. Don't kill me, it's slow. They're like, is it sad and dark also? I'm like, yes. They're like, write a happy song. And I'm like, no, and I'm a really happy person. But I, from a poetic standpoint, like connect so much more with slow songs. And I have that side to me, but I'm also fun and energetic. And I don't know how the two can coexist. I don't see a way. And which one do I? So I was like, okay, I'm just going to choose that soulful one because I feel like that's just more mature. I started to realize that actually the more I was myself and the more I was than I am. I'm a bit of a goofy person and I am energetic and I am young. That's actually superpower. It's not, that's my niche.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean obviously that the soulfulness doesn't exist. Of course it does. My concerts or my songs that are out are like super deep, super happy, and that's fine. But what I learned, which was so powerful, is that when I was the most really myself, people connected the most.
Yeah.
And it was really a big curve for me, and I started to shift into that more and more and just be myself more and more. And now the biggest compliment people tell me is like, you're the same person on stage as you are off stage. And I'm like, thank you.
And they don't expect that. So if you can do that as a performer, so much more so as if people could stop performing in their everyday lives.
Yeah.
And they'll be so much happier.
The more you are yourself.
How did we get to that? Like,
I have no idea.
I think it's honestly, because it's so not a Torah value, it's the opposite. I mean, I think it's our secular world like kind of coming in. It's like maybe it's like the nature of people is to feel like they have to be something for everyone else. And then I guess the social media and like the pressures, because even schools that there's no social media, the kids aren't on it. So you hear a lot about, okay, but they're wearing all these fancy clothing and brands, and it's everything about what do people see on the external as opposed to letting people in on the internal, and they're afraid. And I just think like, to me, that's the best thing you could ever teach your children. And you do that by role modeling for your kids, that you're confident with who you are consistently, no matter if you're in town, no matter if you're going on vacation, no matter if you're having guests in your home or you're, talking with your family. Your children see you in a same exact consistent way,
For
and
sure.
being
And the
like,
world sees
and the
you.
world you, and authentic with who you are. And that's what they'll learn. That's what they'll respect. And that's what
Yeah.
they'll become.
It's amazing. And like, I think of the people that I like look up to, and I'm like, they're so uniquely themselves. And you know, you talk about in business
Yeah.
too, about like niching down, right? We always
Yeah.
say like, we don't want to be like everyone. We want
Right.
to each be our own unique people. And again, like Hashem could have made us all look the same. And I remember a teacher telling us this. She said Hashem could have given us all the same voice.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think like all squirrels look pretty much the same,
Yeah.
right? I don't think they're like too diverse as, right? Hashem could have made every person look the same, sound the same, have the same interests, have the same talents, but he didn't. He made every single one of us different, unique, and he gave us each different tools. And he said, I want you to find what your tool is. Figure out what did I put you down in this world for, and then go out and do something amazing with it. And you don't have to do something that's you. Do something that I gave uniquely to you. And I look around at the people in the world who've made changes. Like we talk about like people who are leading nonprofits and organizations and opening schools or whatever it is. When I speak to girls very often, at a show even, or more private shows, but I talk about the song "One in a Million" from Mordechai Shapiro, and I say like, I want every single one of you to take a minute, close your eyes, and think, what do I have that makes me unique? And it doesn't have to be. We're so conditioned to think like the word talent is like an artsy thing. Like it has to be like, oh, I'm a singer, I'm a dancer, no. Like, are you a good listener? Are you really good at leadership? Are you a fantastic baker? There's so many things. How can you, it doesn't mean that has to become your career, but how can you do good with it?
Yes.
And if we all just cookie cutter decided to just be the same, do the same, act the same, think the same, we'd be taking away so much from the world.
And it'd be really boring.
And it'd be so boring.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I know people like, I don't like to be friends with all the same types of people. Like,
oh my gosh,
it'd be
totally.
so boring. I like to be in a neighborhood where there's all different types of people. I always say, like, oh, don't you want? I'm like, no, I love where I live. Like, it's just filled with all different kinds of people. Like, I'd be so bored if everybody was just all the same. But I love what you said. You kind of touched a little bit also, and I want to talk about leadership. And I think sometimes people are born in certain ways as natural leaders. And part of what I think that leadership is, and why people gravitate to you, is a confidence that you can portray and of true leadership. But then also, I think when you have leadership, you also have responsibility. And that leadership, and that is, and I even like, a lot, my kids also, like I see they're all leaders in their own way. And even at their young age, I say to them, you're a leader in your class, you're a leader amongst your friend group. That is a responsibility, which sometimes you don't always really like. Sometimes that leader, that being that leader is not fun,
right.
But you have to recognize that people are looking up to you. And therefore that added responsibility of having to sometimes go above and beyond, you don't want to, and you just want to like relax at it or whatever, like that, you have that opportunity to gear people in such a great way, or you have the opportunity to take people in like a negative way. It's a huge responsibility.
Yeah, it's a huge responsibility. And this is something that I believe, I'm like top 5 super, super passionate about understanding what it means to acknowledge. And I've spoken about this before, but I always say humility. People look at humility and say like, humility is denying what you have. No, humility is acknowledging what you have and then understanding that it's all from above, and then saying, well, what does this mean? And understanding, what can you do with it? But it's also, what responsibilities do I have? And I find that understanding the impact that you have is so vital. I triple think everything. I don't get involved in politics. I don't share my views because I don't get vocal about things that I think are not my place. I don't show up, even if something would be something in my life that I'd be okay with. But I don't think is a good message to give over to my crowd. I won't share that. And that's so important. And I think that, respecting your audience. So, when I'm...
So now you're moving towards the business side. So this is interesting to me. Because everything you're saying is in your company, which is and you've got your audience, you always need to think about how respecting them, right? What they want.
But you were talking about before that.
Right. No, right. But I actually think you could be put in a difficult, and I sometimes am too, is that what would be best for my business is not necessarily me showing up and having the courage to say some things that I want to say. Because I also have that conflict. Yes. I have a software company in the secular world that services Fortune 500 companies.
Wow.
If I were to stand up and talk about vocally, or even there's all non-Jewish employees within my company. If I started to bring in like things about Israel and other things, that is not what's in the best interest nor the appropriate place. That doesn't mean that I don't have the courage to think that way or want to say those in the right environment when I'm sitting around the Shabbos table with all the guests. Like I will be very strong about what I want to say. But I just do think, I think that's really important, especially in your situation and many who serve the Jewish community as their audience. And you could be, quote unquote, canceled really quickly for doing the right thing, wrong thing. Everyone's watching you, especially when you're in a spotlight. But balancing that with still making sure that you're authentic and you have the courage to be who you want to be. So I'm just curious what you think about that.
I have such a good answer to this.
Okay.
Someone stopped me the other day and she said, I have a question for you. You're always happy. How? And I said to her, I'm not always happy. I only show up when I feel it's beneficial and I'm giving over good energy. So I won't go on Instagram if I'm having a really bad day and say, hey guys, my day was really bad. And by the way, there's a time and place. I think there are people who do that.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because what they provide is validation for people. I'm also having a bad day. You're having a bad day. But that's not what
You're an entertainer.
That's right. And also that's not what I believe is my mission for the world. I like to give over positive energy. Doesn't mean that I'm always happy. No, but that means, is what I'm going to do right now be beneficial to my audience? That's always the question I ask myself when I'm thinking about posting something. Very mindful about what I post. Is this beneficial to my people? So if I'm randomly, even just as an example, I'm on vacation. I'm not posting. I did this, I did that. I don't think that's beneficial. What might be beneficial when I'm on vacation, because one thing I like to do is provide, good energy. I'll say oh my goodness, guys, I saw this beautiful sunset. Let me share it with you. That's giving over, and if you can't be here, I just want to share it with you. Okay, that's giving, but I don't need everyone, that's my personal thing. Everything that I try to put out, I try to be intentional about, is this going to affect people positively? Is this good at, I found a great thing and I would love to share that with you guys in case it's helpful for you. Or here's some videos backstage because that's entertaining.
If there's something that you feel that would be really good for your audience, but for yourself, you don't feel like it's authentic, do you share it or you don't?
Probably the answer is no, but I'm trying to think of an example.
I don't know. I imagine that there must be things
if there's a video that a cool video backstage, but I don't like how I look in it.
I think more of it's, something's going on within the world and you have strong feelings about it, and maybe sharing those would not necessarily be good for your audience. Or maybe it's the reverse, everyone's telling you to share it. You have to get on this thing. You have to do, I don't have Instagram and I'm doing this all for JWE. And the producer is okay, when you come into New York, can you film yourself coming in and getting other, and I'm okay, I'm going to try. I've never done that. I'm going to try. So at first, my husband was with me, and at first I'm okay, it felt so not authentic to me to talk into a camera. I'm this is just not me. And so then I'm okay, fine. What I'll do is I'll just go up the escalator and you could film me going up the escalator because then I don't have to talk about it. But even that just didn't feel. So it was this, here's what would be really good to help promote the podcast and to get it. But it was just so not me. And I'm okay, I can't do it. I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to find a balance that works for everyone.
I was going to say, I think that for me I would find a middle ground or I wouldn't do it. I would never do something that, for sure, if it goes against my morals, obviously I would never. But something that's just a little bit uncomfortable for me, I haven't put in those positions. I'll either just say I just don't feel comfortable doing that and hope that they understand and respect it, or I'll find the middle ground that works for both of us.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's important that, again, if you want to show up as yourself, you have, and again, I think once or twice I definitely probably made a mistake and gave in and said, okay, I'll do it, maybe in the earlier days, and learned from that how uncomfortable I was and said, I'm never doing that again. Yeah, I don't think I would. I think I like to show up on myself.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that I want to go back to is understanding. And I specifically feel I understand the impact that I have specifically on young girls and teenagers. And for that reason specifically, I am so careful and so intentional about every message I give over.
Huge responsibility.
Yeah, it's a massive. And I have had times where I wanted to share something, I wanted to be given over properly, and I've gone to my Rav and said, do you think this is worded right? And he said, no, write it this way and write it that way because you want to be sure that, and that's the best thing you can do is obviously get guidance and support, but I'm really careful. I really try to understand the impact that I have. And I think it's more the opposite. Just because this is something that I'm doing, that it doesn't mean it has to be given over, especially just because I think we understand how deeply people take things.
It's a sense of
I've had people
responsibility.
remind me like things that I said 4 years ago. I don't remember that I said it,
Yeah.
but they do.
Yeah.
And you have to remember that. You have to
Yeah.
realize that everything you say, people could really take to heart. And on the contrary, when you take when you say like this is something I'm very passionate about, actually, is just body neutrality, body positivity within the world. I had a family member that went through an eating disorder, and I see how important it is to give over. We should just be comfortable in our bodies, and every time there's a fast day, I don't do this always, but like in every category, but this is an area where I do feel like I'll write on my stories, like whatever it is about the fasting, then I'll just say to all of you that are not fasting for medical reasons or for whatever reasons that you can't fast, I just want you guys to know that you're choosing to not fast is so holy and so incredible, and thank you for taking care of your body. And I remember the first time I did that, and I was like, okay, it's just like a nice thing to do. I remember being really back and forth. Should I not? Is it political? I don't know. And I said, you know what? Yeah, I want to give. I think there's only good in that message. And the amount of feedback I got from that one story post, it was flooded from people like, I've just recovered from an eating disorder, and you don't know what that meant to me. And someone told me like, I don't remember. It was just, at the time I was so shocked how much it really resonated with people. So then I made it a thing to really try and do it whenever I can. So I just think we have to understand. And on the contrary, if I did something the opposite that made someone feel bad about how they looked, like it's just so important. I actually sponsored a book about body positivity for children because I think it's such an important message to give over. That's another thing I said, when I saw the book was coming out, and it's a beautiful book by Alyssa Goldwater and Chani Kamen for kids, and honestly, it's for the mothers too who are reading it, to just love the bodies that they're in. And I said, how powerful would it be if I put my stamp of approval on this, and I said, this is something that I stand for. And what extra, I hope that would give over to kids and women and girls even more, so that, I hope that it'll do good. And I got so much beautiful feedback from people saying like, my daughter looks up to you. And then when she saw that the book starts with like a letter from me at the beginning, that you like endorsed this message, she just took it to heart.
So that's
so
where
much
you're
more.
taking in essence, the power and the influence that you have and using it in such a great way. So people who are listening, be like, oh, that's so great. You guys grew up in these, families where everyone loved you and you had such great messages and you were able to come and you don't care what other people think and you're so confident. But like, that's not me. Like, I don't have that confidence. I want to talk just for a second is that even I think it's possible for everybody. Maybe it's hard. Maybe it's uncomfortable. Maybe it's like a big change, but like everything's a muscle, right? Like everything is a muscle and you have to like just work that muscle. And if you keep working that muscle, eventually you will get to where you need to go, but you have to have the courage to go back and do that. So what would you share with a lot of people who are listening that says like, I want to be like that. I want to be authentic. I want to not care what other people think. I'm passionate about XYZ and I want that to be a career, but I am scared that I'm not going to get, the shidduch that I want. What message would you send how would you help them to be able to start to make that change in their life today?
Okay, so the first thing I would say is it is so much work, but it's such a rewarding thing to do. And I actually have so much respect for people who didn't grow up with support or didn't grow up with loving parents or didn't grow up with friends or didn't grow up with the support that they needed and make the choice to do the hard work, whether it's through therapy, whether it's through their own self-work, to say, it starts by, I think, learning your self-worth, learning how valuable you are. And everyone is so valuable, and you have so much to give to the world and so much that we
Hashem
can
put you
gain
here
from
for a reason, or
Hashem
he wouldn't
put
have
you here
done
for a
it.
reason.
Right.
That's going to be another one of my songs. No, I love that message. I think it's so important. I think that's where it starts. You have to start with the work internally, and like, might not be easy, but it'll be so, so worth it for the rest of your life. And the second thing is that we like to say, like, some people were given amazing family and some people create their own type of family. And it's friends or a team that's supportive. You have to have people in your life that support you and make you feel good. I think it's so important. And it's something that I learned over many years, is that if you don't walk out of a friendship or a relationship of sorts feeling like good about yourself, then you have to reconsider, is this a person that's a good person to have in my life? Right. We should always be each other's biggest cheerleader. My friends, my team, my family, anyone that's in my close circles are people that really are my biggest cheerleaders, not just in my career, in my life, and no matter what they're there to support me and to encourage me. And people, we always weed out like who's the best people to have in my life and who's not. And sometimes it's painful to do that also. But I can confidently say that everyone in my life right now is really people
Because you've chosen it.
Because I've chosen it.
Yeah.
And not everyone has parents or siblings that are really supportive, but maybe you can find coworkers that will just give you that boost when you don't feel good about yourself.
Yeah, it's like choosing that I'm not going to continue to be the victim.
Yeah.
I'm going to choose and be like intentional about my life. And I also think one of the things that maybe I've heard that I find so inspiring is you get one life to live. Like you do not get to repeat. You get
only live
one. You
once.
get one time to be in high school. You get one time to be in your 20s.
It's
like
true.
you get one life, and you don't know how long that life is going to be either. And so if you kind of look at yourself at the end of your life, whenever that is, and look back and did I use every day in the way that I should have? Did I waste my time worrying about what other people thought of me? Right. And again, it's not like you could flip that switch, but it could be the motivator that you tell yourself as you're building those muscle of like, no, I'm not going to, allow what other people think of me to define who I am. And because I'm going to go up to Shemayim and I need to be able to answer that I took the kochos that Hashem gave me and I used every day to do the best. And if that's a message you just keep telling yourself, I think,
100%.
and then you just keep building your muscle, it gets easier. It's really hard at the beginning, but it gets easier. Okay. I want to shift back for a second.
Go.
Okay. So this is amazing. So thank you for such an inspirational conversation about leadership and your role. But back to where we were talking about your journey, you were a teacher. Mm-hmm. And then you were kind of starting to do this. What was like the big moment? Like was there one big moment that was like, wow, like I'm going to go do this? So share that with us.
There was. One thing I want to add that's so important when it comes to support is that when you build your team, which can take time or whatever, whether it's you have one employee or your team could even be coworkers that you just all support each other. And I have that, which is so incredible. When you build your team, the most important thing is to understand that no matter how confident you are, no matter how much you really believe in yourself, we're human. You're going to have your days where you just don't, maybe you lose the joy in what you're doing. Maybe you don't believe in yourself as much. Maybe it just happens to the best of us. I have days like that all the time. And to have people that will carry you when you fall in your life and in your business is so important. My team, I could shout them out from the rooftops about how much they believe in me, way more than I believe in myself. And something that I learned that was just so, I was like, wait, what? We had a really incredible experience this year. I said every year we do an annual concert, and our New York show is the biggest one. And it's like beautiful, and it's really, we do it on like $1 million budget, huge production, and dozens and dozens of musicians, and it's such a beautiful show. And it's really the highlight of the year for me and for a lot of my people, my music family, I like to call them. And this year, we launched the tickets, and within 3 hours, we were sold out.
Wow.
Baruch Hashem, which was something I did not see coming at all. Because also, we're not talking about an average of $36. We're talking about an average of like $250 tickets, and we're talking about, it was 3,500 seats in the hall. I actually wasn't computing any of it. I was like, okay, it was an hour, so fix it. And what was such an incredible moment for me when people started saying like, oh, you should do a second night. I'm like, what? We're not doing a second. We're not there. That's not it. And my producer said to me, I had such belief that you were going to sell out quickly that I put a hold.
Oh, wow.
On the theater for the next night. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to have that pressure.
Yeah.
And I didn't want you to, but I actually already have a hold on the theater for the next night. And we did end up, because we had the hold, we were able to do 2 nights in a row. We did two concerts back to back, which I'd done it before, but not a big show.
Yeah.
And it was shocking to me, still is. It's something I haven't gone over because we ended up having about 6,500 women and girls
amazing.
there. And it was something that I didn't foresee at all, but my team did. Yeah. And I think that's what is so important is you have to have people who really, they don't just agree with what you're doing. They don't just...
Not just yes women or yes men. Yeah.
Right. But they have to really believe in you so deeply. And that moment, it wasn't just about but it gave me a message like, wow, my team really is carrying me. And it's such a huge part of my business because if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be able to do what I do, how I do it. And I'm so grateful for my team and my producer and my men. They're just amazing. But I think that's important. When we choose people in our lives, we have to choose people that are going to be there as like safety nets that like when you're having your bad day, when you don't believe in yourself, when you're not sure, should I be doing this anymore? When you have an investment that goes bad and you're like, forget it, I'm not doing. People who are going to say like, no, we believe in you, you do so much good, and we're here to carry you in the hard days. And
sure.
I think that's something that I learned, having really beautiful support.
Yeah.
Again, it doesn't have to be your team, it could be your friends, it could be your family, it could be your coworkers, it could be your parents, whoever it is, it could be your children.
Yeah.
people that support you in what you do and cheerlead you and more than you
And are going to really tell you the truth.
and are really going to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's so important. And I learned that really important lesson.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, now I want to go back. Yeah. So what was the biggest like single moment that was like the game changer for you?
It was really a combination of like 2 or 3 moments. It was all within a few months. So I was teaching and I was, very happily teaching. And I didn't really think past. I guess I was a live in the moment person at the time. I still am in some capacity. But I got a call from Shami Adar, who's like a sister to me. We're really, really close. And she had sent me a video of this girl like singing, and she's like, you should be doing this. And then she said a line, which I've said so many times, but it's just so incredibly iconic. And she said, Hashem gave you something. You don't have a right to keep it to yourself. This is not about you, Shaindy. Like, this is about what you could give to others. And I was like, whoa. So that was moment 1. Moment 2 was when I lost my voice a few months later. I lost the ability to speak for literally 6 months. I ended up finding out that I had major swelling and growths on my vocal cords. And that is an entire story in of itself. Yeah. What I learned at the time when I couldn't speak, how grateful we have to be, and just what it means to not communicate, and how we don't realize how incredible we just take it for granted. But also that was a wake-up call for me. Like, maybe I wasn't using my voice, in the way that I should have. And I made a promise that day because my doctor did not have a good, he was like, no, I think we're going to remove the nodules with microscopic surgery, then you're going to do this and this and this and this, but your voice will never sound the same. Like, you'll never sing the way you do ever again. And I was like, no, I can't have that. And he ended up coming up with an alternate plan, which we followed as an experiment. And he said, if it works, then you can avoid that and you'll get your voice back.
When you've made the promise.
And I said that day, I said, Hashem, if you give me my voice back, I promise you I'll do good things with it. And it changed everything for me. That was moment 2. Moment 3 was when I have a friend who's a really talented artist, and we were just on each other's case. I remember where I was standing, and I said to her, like, you're so artistic, you should be doing something with it. And she goes like, yeah, big talker, you should be doing something with your voice. And we were like, I'll open a page if you open a page. And then we challenged each other. We both opened Instagram pages. I have a private Instagram page till this day. And like, I don't know, I didn't start my page with any thought of like, I was like, oh yeah, it'll be a cute place to share music for 100 people, like my friends and family. I did not expect it to blow up at all. And talk about what we said before, like realizing that figuring out what you have that makes you unique is actually something great, is that I really doubted myself because I have a very raspy voice, and I wasn't seeing that in the industry. Most of the other singers I heard had very sweet, polished, violin-sounding voices, and I don't sound like that. I have a raspier tone, and I didn't realize that actually is a good thing. I was like, no, I need to sound like everyone else. And that was a big thing that held me back. And my friend said, like, you're always going to, and I said to her, when I'm healed and I've done all the voice therapy, my voice is sweeter and healed, then I'll do it. And she's like, you're always going to be waiting for that perfect moment. Just go, just start. If you don't start, you're never going to start.
That's amazing.
Which was so powerful to me. And I said, okay, and I'll start. And what was the funniest thing to me was that the feedback I started getting was everyone's like, oh, that raspy sound in your voice, I love it. And I was like, really?
Yeah.
And now it's funny because I love that I have that sound. And it taught me a lot, but that was really where it started. And then from there, I don't know how we got here.
Did you at that moment though be like, I can do this for a full-time career? Or did you say, I'm going to make this? Or you're like, fine, I'll start it and we'll see what happens. I'm going to keep my teaching.
Totally. Even at the time, it was like not even a hobby. Like I was like, yeah, cute thing. I'll upload some songs and for fun. Like it wasn't even like, oh, it'll be a side hustle. None of that. Wow. I did it purely for fun, for enjoyment, and like, okay, hopefully I'm gonna, it was actually the start of COVID when I opened my page. Like COVID started a week later, so the timing worked out very well. People were at home, and I put out a song about like, that all of us should be safe and be taken care of. And people are like, wow, I'm crying, and it's making such validation, and I'm like, what's happening? I didn't plan. I didn't at all. Even when I opened my Instagram page, I didn't say I'm opening it for a career at all. And I think that's also a very powerful thing, is that sometimes you just have to do what you don't look at it, oh, it's a career and calculate it. I'm very into business and being very careful, but sometimes do things for the joy of it. Like I'm doing a project now. It might be out by the time this podcast is out. I'm doing a project now that's what I call a passion project, something that I, in the music world, really, really want to do and have been thinking about for a while for my own enjoyment. It's going to cost me a lot of money, and I think it's worth it. And my producer said to me, we were going over like a bunch of the things we're hopefully going to put out this year. My producer said to me, like this is not a money-making thing. You're not going to make money back from that. And it's expensive. That's one thing where the people have no idea what things cost. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's expensive. You're talking about like $30,000, whatever. It's not like a big expense. You might make money, you might not. We don't know, but don't go into this with it. And I'm like, no, I'm going into this because I want to do it and I want to share this with my people. Maybe it will propel me, maybe it won't. That's not my point. And I think it's important to bring the joy also into what we do and not just always be business focused. Like do things that are real. And that it goes back to the authenticity part. People don't like being spoon fed a business cookie cutter like plan on Tuesday. And sometimes I'll have a plan like, I have to make sure to share about this on Sunday and this on Monday. And then something will pop up that's just like so hilarious. Like the time when I flew somewhere and I totally booked the flight for the wrong day. I wasn't planning to share that, but it was funny. And I was like, what? You have to, can't live so calculated.
Right.
And you can't do everything business-minded. You have to bring the joy into it. And that's important for yourself. Because the line I like to say is, people say like, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Yeah. I like to say, do what you love and you'll never love it again.
That's great.
Which obviously I'm kidding. But like, if you only do what you love as a job, you will never love it again. You need to bring the joy and the love that you originally had into it constantly. And you have to find ways to make sure you're doing that, because we can get so thrown off by like, that's a good business move. Good business, good, amazing. Yeah. I'm the biggest fan of that. Be calculated, be smart. And also sometimes
have fun too.
Have fun.
Yeah. All right, we're ready to go. I'm going to hit you with some questions, like quick questions. Okay. What's your superpower?
I want to say, in a sense, my love for people. Like I just love people so much, and I love what it gives me to be able to connect with people. That, like, I guess for me, like, connection is what it's all about. Yeah.
That's great. Perfect. Like, that's a good answer. Okay. What would you tell your younger self?
I think that people assume that people are confident that as adults, and people that are accomplished as adults were always that way, and I was not. I didn't know who I wanted to be. I didn't always believe in myself. I cared so much what people thought about me, so much. Like, I remember that. And it's normal. But I wish I could just go back in time and just tell myself, like, inhale, exhale. It's all going to work out. Don't overthink everything and just be yourself. Like, I wish that I loved myself the way that I love myself now and valued myself now this way when I was younger. I think that's so important.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. And it goes back to everything we've been talking about. What is the single piece of advice that you would give to everybody listening that maybe was the best advice you got, but what you would give over?
The best advice is to be yourself, honestly. Yeah. Stop trying to be, a cookie cutter. Don't overthink it. Just be yourself. Realize what you have that makes you unique. Realize what you have that you can give to the world, and be that. And you don't have to be like everyone else. We all have things that make us unique, and because of our uniqueness, it's why we give to the world the way that we do. And the minute you learn to start embracing yourself, believing in yourself, but for who you are and not for what the world is and what everyone else is, but realize what do you have that's unique and embrace that. The sooner you do that, the more you're giving to the world.
That's great.
Yeah.
If there was one thing that people were to remember about you, what would you want it to be?
It's funny because I wrote a song. I have so many written songs, by the way, like actually over 300 songs that are written and not finalized. And I don't know how, I hope I'll be able to put them all out. And one of the songs is literally about this. And I've said this before. I never want that when I leave this world, people say she was such a good singer. That is like the last thing I want people to say, or she gave such great shows. I just want people to remember me as a good person and a kind person. And I think beyond anything that I do, it's the most important thing to me to just be a good person. And that's what the scary thing is about business, is that you want to make sure you don't get too wrapped up in it, because we're not here to be successful and that's not the number one. That should never be the number one, for me at least. I don't think that. It's so great to be successful, but it's even more important to be a good person and to be kind and to have good morals and to make sure you give of your time to other people. Never let that cloud come in of I'm up here and I really, really just want to be remembered as a good person and a kind person.
Wow. That's an amazing message.
Thank you.
Okay, final thoughts that you want to share, final message to the audience.
Oh my goodness. Well, first I want to say thank you for having me. This has been so enjoyable for me and so special. I don't know that I have one final thought, but I think that there's so many amazing people out there that are probably listening to this. And as human beings, we doubt ourselves. We don't really have it all together at all times. And sometimes we're better, and sometimes we're in a better place, and sometimes we're not, and sometimes we're really successful, and sometimes we're not. And sometimes we look at other people and we say like, wow, she's doing that, I could never. And sometimes people look at us and they say, oh, she's doing that, I could never. We just live with so many experiences and thoughts. And I think it's so important to just put one foot in front of the other. Don't let everything, come in and overtake your thoughts. Put one foot in front of the other. You don't have to take everything so seriously. You can, when I started, I didn't say, okay, I'm opening my page and I'm going to have, and in 6 years I'm doing a show in here. I didn't do that. I just said, like, I'm going to start. I want to do some good. And that's, and I think maybe that's the final message. With whatever you do, make sure that you're keeping Hashem and being a Kiddush Hashem and doing good for the world at the forefront of what you do, because that's really what we're here for, and if you take what you have and you go with it and you put one foot in front of the other and you try and you just do your best, and you're going to have some bad days and some better days and some good investments and some bad investments and some successes and some failures, and that's okay and that's normal. But I think the most important part within all of it is to just make sure that underneath it all, your focus is right, that you keep Hashem at the focus of your business, that you keep being a good person as the focus of your business, that you bring kindness and charity into everything you do, and don't just give of charity with your money, give of charity with your time, give of charity with your heart. And we're just here to give to each other. And I think that that's one of the most important things that I want to remember. And maybe you guys can remember too.
Amazing. Thank you so, so much for being here. This was such a fun conversation.
Thank you, for
so
me
inspirational. And I hope that some of the younger girls will
I
listen
hope so.
and I'm sure it's I know it's so inspirational for whatever age anybody is at to be able to hear. And congratulations on just everything you've achieved and everything you've done. And, being just one of these incredible women that is really breaking ceilings. And we should just continue to watch amazing things from you. And we will be watching.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
This episode was made possible by our friends at Roth & Co. We are grateful for their continued partnership. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and that you'll join us for the next one. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch this conversation on YouTube, so be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until we meet again, stay inspired to lead.